So this is a reply to a user. He had some questions about cheese with honey for minerals or cheese without honey, and vegetable juice questions. So to address the cheese question, he was wondering if, or they, to be politically correct, if he didn't eat the cheese with the honey, is that still going to give him minerals? And no. Well, you won't digest much of the cheese at all, but if you really wanted to digest all of it to get the minerals, you would want to eat it with honey. So cheese with honey 3 times a day, 30 minutes after a meat meal, preferably. I mean, you can't just eat it throughout the day, but Agenus recommends 30 minutes after a meat meal. Cheese and honey. About 2 tablespoons of cheese with a teaspoon of honey. And if you wanted to use the cheese to cleanse the cheese trains, you would just eat a sugar cube size of cheese, at least. It can't be bigger. It's some intervals, right? So you could do it once an hour, twice an hour, 3, 4 times an hour, 5 times an hour. You could be snacking on cheese all day. And you want to make sure that's the cheese without honey, plain cheese. The drier the cheese is, the more effective it will be. So you can't buy, raw cheese at the store, because it's not really raw. It's heated during the process, anywhere from 110 to 120 degrees. So that's not raw. Once cheese starts to get hotter than 102, it'll start to lose the minerals. And I've talked to people who were eating raw cheese, from the Amish. One Amish company, I think it was Dutch Meadows, and they heat to 110. And they were telling me that they weren't getting any relief from it. They didn't feel like it was working too well, which I believe. So, I hooked them up with a cheese source I've got. If you want a cheese source, just leave your email in the comments, and I'll see it pretty quick. If you're worried about having your email out there, I'll delete it when I get your email. So that's the cheese situation. And I've said it before, it's good to eat cheese with fish, especially, but for other regular meats, land meats, you could do cheese 10 minutes before, and that will help pick up some of the toxins that are released when you eat that raw meat, and promotes cellular division. Some of that old garbage from your body that's stored is going to resurface. The cheese will help clean that up and get it out of your body. In regards to vegetable juice, this guy, he doesn't mind not having an appetite because he's trying to lose weight. He's trying to lose fat, which is a good thing to do, to cycle your weight. If you're particularly toxic and you're not taking baths every day. And this is probably one of the most neglected aspects. Some people, they pay thousands of dollars for primal coaching, and they don't even get this tidbit about the vegetable juice and just how important it is, and how their diet will eventually stagnate, and they'll have to make adjustments. So with vegetable juice, starting out on the diet, you may not think it's important. You'll have an appetite, but after a while your blood is going to get very acidic because you're eating this meat. It's regenerating your cells. Old cells are being discarded. They're going to accumulate in your body. It's going to make you over acidic. It's going to make your blood over acidic. It's going to make it harder to have an appetite for things, just like this person is experiencing right now. And they're hesitant to do it because they spend a lot of time in the sun. There's a meme going around, perpetrated by Carney Clown MD, aka Frugivore MD, and all these other carnivore people, that celery causes sunburn. And they just base this off some studies which use very poor methodologies and sample groups. It's usually people who are working outside in the sun all day, and they get sunburn. And they just happen to be around celery. It's around people who work at a grocery store and they're unloading celery and all kinds of other produce, and like a third of them get sunburn. I mean, what are the odds of a third of a control group getting sunburn? Pretty high, I'd say. And it doesn't really, I haven't seen a study that accounted for, you know, consuming the celery. And then you see pictures, it's like the one picture with the baby who is eating celery, just celery stalks, and they had the celery around their mouth and they got, you know, sunburn. Well, whenever you have any type of liquid on your body, even just water, it's going to magnify the sun and it's going to intensify the rays. So that isn't being accounted for necessarily in that picture. And, you know, I'm in the sun a lot as well. I work outside most days, and I do gardening as well in my spare time. I usually have my shirt off, and I don't have any sunburn. The reason people get sunburn is because they don't have enough fat and protein, especially the fat in their skin, to help, you know, convert and use the sun's energy. So it messes you up. And some people have different skin types too, right? Because they come from places where there isn't a lot of sun. And yeah, if those people are exposed to sun then a lot, then yeah, I mean, it can burn you, especially if you're not used to it. Especially if you've been inside all winter and you go outside, you know, for a real sunny day, boom, you got sunburn. That's not really surprising. Celery juice, if you're eating right, especially, I don't see having an impact in any sort of way, like negatively. I drank, you know, 2 cups of celery juice daily almost. Well, not daily, but 4, maybe 5 days a week. So I'm drinking 10 cups, 11 cups at least celery juice a week. And, you know, I'm tanning just fine because I'm eating plenty of fats and my skin is well nourished. I'm also not, you know, going out into the sun when I'm not as tan. So it's a good idea to build up your tan before you go out in the sun all day. I don't think, regardless of, you know, whatever you're eating, you can still burn if you're not used to the sun and you're outside in the sun all day. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. So the vegetable juice is very important. Also because different vegetables have different functions. You know, like beets and corn, they produce the hydrochloric acid, which can help with digestion. Liver can help with, or I'm sorry, ginger can help with the body smell. Let's see what else. Some other plants like, you know, rhubarb and kale I've been experimenting with. They have a lot of vitamins in them, so they're particularly alkalizing, and I think they're pretty good to use. Although kale has more fiber than rhubarb, but they're related anyway. So, you know, and those are just a few examples. You know, if you read the book We Want to Live, that has a lot of information about vegetable juices. And for instance, carrot, they help remove excess bile from the body, and they are a good source of, you know, energy, carbohydrates. I put 40% of my juice is now carrot juice, and that's an adjustment I've needed to make from last year, where I just drank mostly celery juice, sometimes celery and lemon, celery, lemon, parsley. So, you know, I'm adding in the carrot juice again, and I actually crave it a little bit more than I used to. So, you know, my body needs it, especially because I've been so skinny. You know, if anybody who's skinny, they've got, you know, probably excess toxic bile in their system that needs to go. So the carrot juice really helps with that. But yeah, so the vegetable juice isn't just like, you know, one-dimensional, like, oh, you know, it's multifaceted. So it is something important. But it is probably the least important thing on the diet, to be honest. So like, even if you don't do it every day, If you can do it a couple times a week or once a week, you know, you're going to be better off for it. Especially with celery, like, it's a good one to start out with because it'll help remove salt from the body, toxic sodium, and it's very cleansing. So, you know, don't feel like you have to stop doing celery juice because you're going to melt in the sun. That's not going to happen. Just make sure you're eating enough raw fat and you're working your way up to sun exposure. You know, no one on any diet, like I said, is going to be able to jump into the sun after not being in the sun, you know, throughout the winter and not get at least a little burnt. So, and as far as adding things for, you know, your skin, like some people do butter, some people do olive oil, some people do coconut cream, some people do coconut oil. I frankly don't put anything on my skin for tanning. I just don't. But like if you were going to go swimming in the ocean, putting some olive oil or coconut cream on your skin would be good to help protect it from the salt. But yeah, that's about it. I'm not going to keep rambling. I hope that answers your questions.